The aging alcoholic is still there, breathing. The air in the room is stale. This hat is so soft, so warm. It wraps around your head, and your mind tingles with all manner of socio-economic theory. Karamazov would have worn this Yushenka. Mazov knew where to cook those thoughts. That's why it bears a Mazovian logo. Glory to the revolution, comrade. Whether you like it or not, wearing this hat has made you more communist. plaster cast bust depict. Honestly, he does kind of look like you after all.
You're back. Yes, let's get right to it.
His companion leans forward, ready to jump in. They're impressed that you dove right into the most advanced parts of the theory. Half an hour evaporates and the conversation is still wending its way toward new and unexpected places. A cool breeze coming off the bay wraps itself around the Capeside apartments in a nearly forgotten part of that glorified construction site, surrounded by rusted pieces of scaffolding and walls of faded tarpaulin. A detective of the RCM debates the intricacies of an abstruse theory with a pair of university students.
But if it's true that this individual possesses so much capital that light literally bends around him, then that must mean...
In Innocence of Capital, Puncher and Wortman argue that communists must possess as little capital as possible in order to keep their thinking undiluted by its influence.
You've accrued a modest account balance over the last few days, but probably not enough to warp your thinking too much.
Again, he was just a regular high net worth individual. There was nothing extra physical about him.
Now the breeze has subsided. All is still except for the last bits of steam rising from the coffee pot.
Well, on that note, I think we can call it an evening.
No, wait. Can this really be the end? You feel like you've just gotten to the real stuff.
Yes. One of our better discussions lately, on the whole.
What do you mean, is that it? You've done the reading, we talked about it. What more do you expect from a reading group? Well, you could always ask, I guess.
We probably won't get a better chance. Honestly.
But it's getting late, so maybe pick the most important question.
Detective, how should I know what questions you have about communism?
Come on, we have things to do in the morning.
The question you mean to ask is both very complicated and incredibly simple. The young man waits patiently for you to finish.
Yes?
The young man considers your words for a minute. You're witnessing his ironic armor melt before you. This is his true self you're seeing now. There's something going on in there, but his innermost sanctum is still beyond your reach.
The theorist Puncher and Watman, not inframaterialists, but theorists nonetheless, say that communism is a secular version of Pericanasian theology, that it replaces faith in the divine with faith in humanity's future. I have to say, I've never entirely understood what they mean, but I think maybe the answer is in there, somewhere. Nobody said fulfilling the proletariat's historic role would be easy. It demands great faith with no promise of tangible reward. But that doesn't mean we can simply give up. Even then.
Mazov tells us to laugh at the monster that hides behind false hopes and pieties.
Why do you see the two of them with their backs against a bullet-pop wall all of a sudden?
I guess you could say we believe it because it's impossible. It's our way of saying we refuse to accept that the world has to remain. Like this. Yes, that's a good way to think of it. Broken, but not irreparable. A thought can be a very powerful thing. That's the whole idea of inframaterialism.
Steban, it's getting pretty late.
You're right. We should clean this up and get going.
Of course, the matchboxes. You'd very nearly forgotten to ask about them. Now may be your last chance.
So you really did read all the way to the end. Yeah, Uli and I were trying to see whether there was enough plasm between the two of us to hold up a few matchboxes.
It was just a little informal experiment. No reason to take it too seriously.
The young man looks at you a moment, then at his companion.
What could it hurt? All right, let's give it another go.
You know what? I'll sit this one out. I don't think you want my skeptical materialism interfering.
Before long, a modest tower begins to rise from the pile of matchboxes. You place every box with the utmost delicacy and precision.
Easy, Uli.
It's holding.
For the moment. The higher the tower goes, the quieter the room seems to become. Aside from the occasional comment, the three of you are completely absorbed by the task.
Alright, you go next, Steban.
The young man pushes back his shirt sleeves, revealing the pale flesh of his forearms.
Is it? It's holding. It's holding.
Yes, this is the closest we've ever gotten.
It's almost exactly as Nielsen's sketch imagined, a physical manifestation of the dialectical spiral of history.
All right, gendarme. Your turn.
You've got this. Theories aside, They're only matchboxes. Even the lieutenant is watching intently now.
It's... Don't apologize. As I was saying, if it were easy, it wouldn't require so much plasm to work.
Undoubtedly.
Alternatively, it could be that our own ideological fervor is still insufficient.
Yes, the problem is almost certainly your lack of commitment, and not, say, gravity.
Harder to believe, but still possible.
Either way, that's enough parlor games for one night. Thanks for humoring us.
We should probably clean up.
Well, I think we're probably finished here, Detective.
Wait a minute, if you don't mind. We wanted to get your opinion on something. A few little changes we've been thinking about. Nothing too major, I think. We were talking potentially about relaxing some parts of our admissions process.
That's interesting. I thought people loved group interviews.
I thought so too, but perhaps we overdid it, just a little. There was another thing. We were also debating putting up some posters around town.
Though some of us maintain that advertising is an unacceptably bourgeois tactic.
That's what makes it so beautiful. The irony is unbeatable. As a noted art cop, you definitely have an opinion on this.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
I guess no one could accuse Cindy of having a bourgeois aesthetic.
Plus, I've got the perfect place in mind. Put some more coffee on, Uli. We've got a long night ahead of us. We should probably get Cindy in here too. Oh, and gendarme. One last thing. About that question you asked earlier. It reminded me of a certain poem that you might appreciate.
Ah, so he has read something besides his books of abstruse theory.
It was written by a young communard who was killed on the barricades during the Coalition landings. The story goes that he wrote it on the last night of his life, keeping watch from the barricades in the middle of the night. I don't have the whole thing committed to memory, but there's a line in it I think about sometimes. In dark times, should the stars also go out? Anyway, good night to you.
Hello again, officers.